Bring in show music, please.
This is Squawk Pod, and I am CNBC producer Cameron Costa. On today's episode, a market slide stabilizes, maybe, as Bitcoin bounces off its lows.
And what is it? Is it the NASDAQ? Is it gold?
It's an asset.
Total risk asset.
And Jennifer Garner joins us from the big screen to big food. Once Upon a Farm IPOs today.
Gosh, business is really leading social change. Could we have a business that's pushing social change and democratizing nutrition and making it accessible for more kids?
On Capitol Hill, a standstill over DHS and ICE funding. How Democrats like Senator Chris Coons are trying to honor demands from constituents.
I've gotten more calls from Delawareans in the last 2 weeks about this than anything in years. They want to see action.
Plus, Elon Musk now worth more money than the next 3 richest people combined. Our Robert Frank goes inside wealth.
Musk is, yes, on track to become the world's first trillionaire.
It's Friday, February 6th, 2026, and Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Becky by in 3, 2, 1. Cue it, please.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We're live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Becky Quick along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin. It is Friday, and that's bringing some relief, particularly if you've been watching the ups and downs of the market this week. If you were just looking at some of the numbers this week, it was actually the worst day yesterday for the Dow, the S&P and the NASDAQ since January 20th. The NASDAQ and the NASDAQ on 100 are both on pace for their worst week since April of last year. That's when we heard about the tariffs. There's been a lot of volatility, and it has not been confined to the equity markets. We'll take a very quick look at what's been happening with Treasury markets, where yields stand right now. 10-year yield is back down below 4.2%, 4.19. The 2-year is down as well. It's below 3.5% at 3.47. And then gold and silver prices, which have been kind of marching to their own drum of volatility, are relatively more stable this morning. Gold has barely budged. It is below $5,000 an ounce at $4,903. Silver's off by about 3.5%, back below 75 cents at 73.96. But again, we have seen some huge movements here, and this is only the beginning of it. It's also been Bitcoin as well.
Let's talk Bitcoin. Let's show you where Bitcoin sits right now. We're at $65,773. That's a bit better than where we had been yesterday. The cryptocurrency now coming off a 13% drop yesterday. That's its worst 24-hour period since the middle of 2022. This morning, as we just discussed, 65, maybe getting closer to $66,000. Bitcoin nearly breaking below the $60,000 mark yesterday, but that's where it seemed to bounce. And more tough news in the crypto sector after yesterday's closing bell. Bitcoin treasury company Strategy reported more than $12 billion fourth quarter loss. Bitcoin now well below Strategy's $76,000 average coin acquisition cost. And that's always been the big question. So the company's executive chairman, Michael Saylor, saying that Strategy has cash reserves to cover dividends and interest for more than 2 years.
It's been a big turnaround. All of the gains that came in with the Trump administration and the gains in the currency, the cryptocurrency, have pulled back. It's now below that. But this was seen as a much more friendly administration to crypto, and people kind of thought that that would usher in higher prices across the board for Bitcoin and beyond.
It was really gut-wrenching to watch yesterday.
Yeah.
Got to the point where I was saying Bitcoin is probably not, and all of crypto, probably not big enough to take down everything. I don't think, although it's worrisome. It's not systemic enough, I don't think. But then I thought of the Thai baht, and I thought about that. We had some currency problems in Cyprus, the island of Cyprus. So it doesn't take much. And if it's sort of a poster child for leverage and froth, it's definitely worrisome. Now, Katie Stockton said 60, or in the 60s, so that was where the charts were showing. Other people said, okay, we had it. Remember when it went to 20,000 and then it went to 1,500? Yep. And Tom Lee kept saying it's going back to 20,000. Then it went to 65,000 and came back to 15,000. So 80% pullbacks were not uncommon. But people recently, Pomp, others, Novogratz said the volatility is less, the institutional ownership is less. Maybe we don't get an 80% drawdown. Maybe we get half of that, a 40. Well, we got 50. so far, because it was 125 and it was down to 63,
More than
62,
20% this
61.
week.
So we got a 50.
Yeah.
Does it stop here?
And then it comes back to
idea.
the questions of Bitcoin always being seen as something that was a hedge against inflation, a hedge against fiat currency, and
that's been gone for a couple months.
Right, right. That's,
And what is it? Is it the NASDAQ? Is it gold?
Total.
Is it?
it's an asset. that
Total
moves.
risk asset.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bitcoin, people say it has no inherent value. They don't understand it at all. We understand all the AI and software companies, and we see that they're capable of not 50% maybe, but they're capable of the rug being pulled out and this huge air pocket. I mean, Amazon, we're going to look at that because everybody is spending so much. Was Amazon also disappointing in terms of, I don't know,
I think
some
slightly.
growth
There were some numbers that were slightly,
that were
but
not-
I
A little
do
bit.
think it's back to
But
the
I think it's a
capex
spending
numbers.
story.
And it's so much more than people had anticipated. In fact, Amazon shares, as Joe mentioned, are lower following those quarterly mixed results. The company raising its full-year spending forecast to $200 billion as big tech ramps up investment in artificial intelligence. If you look at the big four spenders, I think together they are promising that they're going to spend $650 billion this year, and Amazon makes up a huge chunk of that. Elon Musk's net worth potentially blasting off to another world thanks to SpaceX. Robert Frank is here, and he joins us with more. Good morning, Robert.
Great to see you, Becky. Well, Elon Musk this week becoming the first person ever to top the $800 billion mark. He's now worth more than the next three richest people combined. So that's Larry Page, Sergey Brin, and Jeff Bezos. Most of his wealth used to come from Tesla, of course. Now, 2/3 of that wealth comes from SpaceX. He owns about 43% of that newly merged SpaceX and XAI company. That company was valued at $1.25 trillion as part of that deal. So Elon's stake is now worth about $540 billion in that company. Meanwhile, his stake in Tesla valued at a mere $300 billion. Musk has always said it's not about the money, but about the voting control. And here, too, SpaceX is likely to get more of his focus because he currently controls about only 18% of Tesla, and he had about 80% of the voting control at SpaceX. Even if he meets all the benchmarks in that new Tesla pay package, his Tesla vote will only be around 25 to 28%. Now, the Tesla board itself highlighting the risk that SpaceX will command more of Musk's attention now that it accounts for more of his wealth. In the proxy, the board said, quote, because a majority of Musk's wealth is now derived from other business ventures, the compensation plan at Tesla is needed to prevent him from prioritizing those other ventures. Now, if SpaceX goes public this year with an even higher valuation, Musk is, yes, on track to become the world's first trillionaire, probably sometime this year. For more, sign up for the Inside Wealth newsletter at cnbc.com/Inside Wealth. It was funny, I wrote an article in 2024 saying that Musk would likely become the world's first trillionaire sometime in 2027.
Wow.
And everybody said, that's crazy. And it's actually,
You're prescient.
it's going to be earlier than that.
Yeah,
Before that.
it's pretty prescient.
And you know what they say, the first trillion
It's the hardest.
is always the hardest. And then I think
Just don't lose it. That's what Boone Pickens always said. First billion's the hardest. But then he wrote a book that was called that. But then it was about how to hold on to your billionaire status. And
He's a
Boone
young-
liked to bet big, so it didn't
he's a
always
young
work.
guy. I mean, it could be, I don't know what it could be. If you ask Ron Barron, he probably thinks it could be 10 trillion before
gazillion.
Musk is done.
And the interesting thing will be to watch what it means for Tesla shareholders, because not only is Musk now more incentivized by SpaceX because of the ownership, the wealth, more importantly, the voting control, which is what his issue has always been, but also because shareholders, if you're an Elon Musk fan as a retail investor, you only had one publicly traded company that you invested. Now you have a choice. And by the way, for many of those investors, space and artificial intelligence is more exciting.
That's what I was just going to say. It's not just for the investors that it's more exciting. I don't think Tesla necessarily stands a chance. Forget about the compensation plan because it's what he's most interested in. And Elon Musk has always drifted towards whatever interests him at the moment.
Right.
I don't know that the normal incentive structures will work for somebody like him. Not that he doesn't want them. I think control was a huge issue on all of these things. And I'm a big believer in setting up compensation plans that incentivize properly. But I think in his case, it's just where his interests take him.
Exactly. And that's why that $1 trillion compensation plan was not normal.
Yeah.
Because they know that normal compensation was not going to do it.
Right.
But this will be interesting to watch if these two companies remain separate, and there's some speculation they could eventually merge as well.
I wonder that
for
too, if
shareholders.
you just put everything together.
Yeah.
The great debate, and we'll have it over and over again, is what is the fair taxation for Elon Musk if he's worth $1 trillion?
Well, remember, he paid $11 billion
that was
in
where
taxes
I was going,
back in
because
2022.
that's where I was going, because Elizabeth Warren again was saying what we need are to get these bastard billionaires, she may not have said it that way, but like Elon Musk that don't pay taxes. Now, he paid $11 billion. If it's a zero-sum game and people are out $1 trillion because he has $1 trillion, and that $1 trillion should have been spread out among millions of people, then I could see that. But if he is a wealth creator and generated tax revenue to the U.S. government, this South African import, whatever the heck he is, if he generated $11 billion of taxable, Elizabeth Warren, in her wildest dreams, is not going to contribute $11 billion of revenue to the U.S. government.
Yeah, and a lot of people will hold up the world's first trillionaire as a sign of inequality and unfairness.
But what is this?
But look at the amount of wealth he has
That's
also
what I mean.
created.
And all
That's
the
a
other people
portion
that
of
have paid taxes on
That's
that.
right.
All
That's
the
right.
people that pay capital gains on their Tesla shit.
That's right.
But what is the fair amount? What should he be paying?
What did you say?
What is the fair amount that he should be paying?
Oh, never mind. I thought you said something else. Never mind.
Is your mind in the gutter again?
No.
No, I'm
I
just.
just
what
sit
is-
next to you, so I
Did
know
I
what
say
to
shit?
expect.
Did I say Shih Tzu?
That's what I thought.
Oh no, I didn't say Shih Tzu. Although Schitt's Creek, I was watching the Emmys, and
Never mind.
they say it constantly because of the name of the show, and they win because Schitt's Creek, Schitt's Creek, Schitt's Creek.
SCH is how that's spelled.
Schitt's Creek. Okay, it is 7. Thanks, Robert. So, but what would a progressive say Elon Musk should be paying?
More.
A lot more.
Once Upon a Farm was co-founded by actor Jennifer Garner. She's going to be joining us in the next hour, along with the company's CEO.
See those ads for her? She says, "I think you probably know me better from another occupation I have, or another business." And I think she's talking about being an actor or an actress. But there's no way her acting career makes as much money as that Capital One.
I was going to
she's
say the
with.
Capital One thing.
That is such a, you know,
good
it used to be, it wasn't there was Murray was in a movie about a star doing a commercial over in Japan, because that's a way Brad Pitt, they all used to do them over there.
I think they still do.
They do, but they do them here now too. It's no longer,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so lucrative to do that. Why would
And
you
it's,
do it?
by the way, it's a pretty good gig.
Samuel L. Jackson, who has been,
Pretty good gig when you're a mom. You
Right.
don't have to travel and be on set for like 6 months at a time.
I think he's been in, someone might have passed him, but he had been in the greatest box office cumulative total for movies,
Really?
Jurassic Park, and all the things that he was in, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, I was thinking, yeah.
Someone might have
Marvel movies.
passed him, but still, he's going to do a Capital One. I would. What's in your wallet? You know what's in their wallet? A lot.
Cheese will be next.
Coming up on Squawk Pod, an A-list IPO. Jennifer Garner's Once Upon a Farm hits the public markets today. She and her CEO, John Foraker, join Andrew on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
He's calling you literally in between running lines. I mean, how does this work?
Yeah. We've been on lots of leadership team meetings on Zoom, and she's sitting in hair and makeup for an hour and a half.
And they're like, wait, you have to turn your camera off because we're getting too invested in these eyelashes going on.
You're listening to Squawk Pod. Andrew Ross Sorkin left the set briefly this morning, temporarily swapping the NASDAQ for the New York Stock Exchange to cover a particularly tasty IPO.
Once Upon a Farm going public right here at the New York Stock Exchange today. The nutrition company pricing its IPO at $18 a share. That's right in the middle of the range. And joining us right now, first on CNBC, are the co-founders of the company, John Foraker and Jennifer Garner. And it's great to have you both here. What a big day.
Yeah,
It's a very big day. Thank you.
Want to talk about the company and everything, but you guys started on the same day at this
Yes, we did.
company. How did that even happen? How did this whole thing happen?
Go ahead, John.
Okay. I met Cassandra Curtis. I had made my kids baby food. I did not like the process. I found it really messy and inconvenient and also confusing. Was I giving my kids the right nutrition? But there was nothing available in the grocery store that was fresh and organic and delicious. So I met Cassandra Curtis and Ari Raz, and they were the originals. And it was just like, what you are doing is amazing. I saw that John Foraker was an angel investor, the first investor. He had run Annie's Organic, taken it public, sold it, and was still running it at General Mills. And so I asked to meet with John. Should I keep going? Our conversation quickly turned from this would be the most amazing product out there for kids and babies to, gosh, business is really leading social change. Could we have a business that's pushing social change and democratizing nutrition and making it accessible for more kids?
So when you guys first started this or got involved in this, did you think that this was going to be the outcome?
No.
What did you think the outcome was going to be? Because you had already done this. You've run this playbook before.
I knew it was. We knew it was possible, obviously, but and we thought it was a really big market opportunity that was out there. There's a lot of food that parents are not. Their kids love, but parents are not happy necessarily about the ingredients or too much sugar, etc. And we just thought it was a big business opportunity, but we never kind of envisioned this. Although I'll say probably about 5 years ago, we really started saying, you know what,
wait a minute.
this is turning into something pretty significant. We really could use an IPO someday as a launching pad to that next big chapter of the company's growth.
And I'm sure people have come to you to try to buy the company rather than go public. No, I'm curious though how you think about that, because you ultimately took Annie's public and then sold it later.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching this thinking, oh, maybe they'll go public and then they'll sell the company later.
Yeah, there's been a lot of strategic interest in the business from the beginning. Ironically, even when it was the size of a lemonade stand at the very beginning. But I've come to really believe that, like, as a mission-driven company, when we first got together that first week with Ari and Cassandra, we wrote our mission, which is we exist to drive systemic change in childhood nutrition for a happier, healthier, more equitable world. And when you have a big mission like that and a big market opportunity, we just felt like that us doing it ourselves and driving that with a really strong company and culture was the right way to deliver against that. And that's really why I got involved and Jen got involved, is we wanted to drive that change in the context of a really great business that's connecting with millions and millions of households and making their lives better.
So for those folks who are watching this now, we're thinking, should we be investing in this company? What do you think the fair comp is for that? I'm sure that your bankers have sat with various spreadsheets showing you the other companies out there. But what do you think is the world with which they should look? This is going to be the implied value is really about $720 million.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to call out a specific comp because I really don't think there is anybody like us. We're a unique company in baby and kid nutrition. We have a big market opportunity. We're growing very fast, and I don't really think there is a comp. So, our comp is ourselves, and we got to continue to deliver great business results and social impact results against
We hold
our mission.
ourselves to really high standards. We know we're shaping the future of food. We know we're parents' ally. We know we're feeding babies to big kids. And we're doing it all as the first public benefit corporation to go public focused on babies and kids.
Right. And by the way, I should just mention, I think people sometimes, they see you as a spokesperson, but you are not just a spokesperson for this company. You were like
not
intimately,
in this case, no.
intimately involved. And we were talking
way
just
too
off
involved.
camera.
Drive them all crazy.
I was going to say, so you're oftentimes, on set working on some project, and he's calling you literally in between running lines. I mean, how does this work?
We've been on lots of leadership team meetings on Zoom, and she's sitting in hair and makeup for an hour and a half.
And they're like, wait, you have to turn your camera off because we're getting too invested in these eyelashes going on.
How much do you think the success or sort of image of the company, though, is in your image?
I do think that I'm inextricably tied to Once Upon a Farm. It is the thing that I'm the most proud of is that parents see me anywhere, walking down the aisle of an airplane and they're like, oh my gosh, Farmer Jen, we love your products. They've saved our lives. We're so grateful. And that's so gratifying and fun for me. But the main way people find out about our product is word of mouth. It's parent to parent and kid to kid.
Right. So the company's growing at a fast clip, but still losing money.
Yep.
So speak to that and speak to sort of what the line looks like as people are thinking about this as an investment.
So on an adjusted EBITDA basis, we basically are running the company right about break even. We've got some non-cash charges that are related to derivatives and things like that that are going away at the IPO. But the company has a very strong gross margin structure, contribution margin structure. It's growing fast. We will be a very profitable company. We're very confident in that, and in the not too distant future.
And how do you think about the competition right now? Because while you've been a pioneer in this space, there are a lot of folks who have taken notice of that and are saying, okay, we're going to start selling similar products.
Yeah. So when we first launched this company, when we went we barnstormed across the country talking to retailers, we decided to take our first product, which are these cold pressed pouches, and put them into dairy sets where kid yogurt is. And we are competing against all of the biggest companies in many of the biggest food companies in the world.
It's not easy to hold shelf space in dairy. Yeah.
So we've been competing like that forever, and there's always going to be maybe some big consumer packaged company or another emerging brand that'll come at us. We just have to be the most innovative and the most connected, driving the most growth for our retailers.
In terms of supply chain, Mexico, South America, huge for you.
Yeah.
How are you either weathering the tariff issue and thinking about that going forward?
So we have a genius named Larry who has built a team inside our organization, and we source all over the world. We follow the seasons around the world because there's always going to be some issue that pops up, whether it's tariffs, whether it's
climate, or there's too much rain and it wipes out all the pineapples in one area.
Yeah. So we've gotten very adept at building that supply chain so that we can be resilient in those kinds of with those kinds of challenges. So
in terms of distribution, what's sort of who's working, what's working for you and what's not working for you right now?
This is really cool because we have distribution and we're in 25,000 stores, and it's all the way from Whole Foods to Walmart and everything in between. Whole Foods, Target, Costco, Walmart, and who am I forgetting?
Kroger.
They're kind of our big five.
Yeah. And we have really strong distribution at those retailers, and we perform in the top third of our categories in terms of velocity. So they view us as a partner that's bringing these households into their chains, which is super important for them, getting young families, big shopping baskets for them. And so what we're going to do is continue to build out the business over in our snacking area in dairy. The other big initiative we have is putting baby coolers into the baby aisle, which is bringing fresh baby product into the baby aisle, which is very disruptive. And then we're just going to take the brand around the store into other categories, very much like Annie's did, where we think we can be a mom's ally and dad's ally in the lunchbox.
In terms of thinking about just the economy and the consumer today, this is considered a premium product, fair enough?
Yeah, fair.
And so how do you sort of see maybe a tale of two cities here in the country?
Yeah, it's surprising. People do think of us, we obviously are a premium product, no question about it. So upper third income, we're certainly way over index, but middle and bottom third income, we index right to the category. Like our products are actually very accessible because we use price pack architecture, like going from a single to a 4 count to an 8 count to a 12 count to drive our average unit price down. And that's been very successful in making us accessible to a very broad audience. I mean, we sell incredibly well in the 35th or 4,000th Walmart store relative to the best Whole Foods, and everything in between.
And if I could just say, that's such a huge, important part of our mission. I mean, as we're rolling out baby coolers, our WIC line is growing in every one of those coolers so that parents who are using women, infant, children, federally funded money can choose fresh and organic for their babies. We're the first refrigerated fresh brand. We're the first brand to use Equitable Food Initiative as to partner with them so that the growers of our food and the pickers have better pay, better care, a seat at the table making decisions. And we've also given away over 1 million meals through Save the Children.
Wow. Guys, congratulations.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing this all happen. You guys ringing the bell in just a little bit. And I'm going to send it back to Becky and Joe. Thanks.
Andrew, thank you. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes.
Up next on Squawk Pod, Democrat Senator Chris Coons discusses the latest standstill on Capitol Hill. This time it's over funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
What I'm asking for, what Democrats are asking for, is that these federal agents follow the same rules that state and local law enforcement follow every day.
We'll be right back. This is Squawk Pod.
Straight up on Becky. 3, 2, 1. Up on Becky. Cue.
You're watching Squawk Box right here on CNBC. I'm Becky Quick along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin, who will be back with us shortly. House and Senate Democrats at a standstill over future funding of the Department of Homeland Security, which could mean another potential government shutdown just 1 week from today. Joining us right now is Delaware Democrat Senator Chris Coons. And Senator, I can't believe we're even talking about this, being back at potentially being a shutdown after the longest shutdown in history.
Right.
That I don't know led to much of anything or anything other than pain and frustration on the average American's part. What's going on?
The last shutdown was about the Affordable Care Act and health care costs. This one is about reining in ICE and CBP. And if I can put it as simply as possible, what I'm asking for, what Democrats are asking for, is that these federal agents follow the same rules that state and local law enforcement follow every day.
If you shut down the government over this, if you shut down, not the government, but if you shut down, let's say we go back to what happens with TSA and airports and people who get caught up in this, is that the way to do this?
It is literally the only leverage we have in the minority. And bluntly, I think our ask is very reasonable. I met with law enforcement leaders from Delaware this week to say, help me. Do you think this is something we should deliver on?
Senator, you're a reasonable person, but if that happens and things get shut down again, from the perspective of average Americans or business people who are trying to get around,
I understand why
families
they'd
who
be
have
frustrated.
plans,
It almost sounded like
if you can't get to a funeral, if you can't get to a wedding, if you can't go on a plane.
It sounded like you were justifying the last shutdown. Like in hindsight, you haven't learned a lesson that you're saying, well, okay, we got healthcare problems. These subsidies, I don't know whether you put the whole issue of rising healthcare costs and what you were trying to accomplish last time, but that wasn't the right. In hindsight, don't you look back and say, I wish Democrats had not done that?
A core challenge for us is that we are in the minority in both the House and the Senate.
That happens all the time.
And we're not able to make change.
When the Republicans are in the minority,
they
are in the minority.
They have also used shutdowns to
They have, but to the great,
like it then. I don't like
just
it now.
mortified by it.
I have no enthusiasm for a shutdown. But to be clear,
you guys are so skilled.
The killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
Agreed.
I've gotten more calls from Delawareans in the last 2 weeks about this than anything in years. They want to see action.
Have we not started to see the administration and the president recognize that they went too far with what President Trump has already done?
A little bit.
We are going to be
He's
bringing
withdrawn
down
some officers.
some of this.
They're talking about maybe body cams.
Wearing body cams, I think, is a great idea.
Of course.
But
this is what every agency does.
Can't you reach that with that? Aren't they feeling that same pressure that you are getting from your constituents?
So they're going to play for time and hope that the subject changes. We've put forward, I think the risk was that we would overreact.
That's where I'm coming at. Whoever
we put on the table,
hardest on this may lose.
Right. Body cameras on, masks off, name ID badge, which every other police department in the country does. And then simple rules of engagement for use of force and for accountability. That's the sort of thing we ought to be able to agree on.
They wouldn't need masks if the left and Democrats hadn't ginned up the opposition to the point where people think it's okay to break the law by disrupting federal law enforcement officials, obstructing, disrupting, kicking out, whatever you want to talk. It's all against the law.
Why does that require masks?
Because they're getting doxxed.
Okay.
Right?
There should be severe consequences for attacking a police officer or doxing. Like, I hear you. Police officers need to be safe as they conduct their important job of protecting us and through law and order. But, there's fewer than 1,000 police officers in Minneapolis. To deploy 4 times that overwhelmed Minneapolis. Like, let's be clear. Roving patrols.
A lot of these
of masked guys in non-stated uniforms.
These are not protests.
They're pulling back the.
These are riots.
They have to.
These are riots. Yeah. These aren't just protests. These aren't exercising your First Amendment rights. These are disrupting federal law enforcement officials trying to do their job.
If you can't stand there and blow a whistle and use a camera when police are doing a police action, then we don't have a First Amendment.
No, that's fine.
They are claiming that they should be able to enter your home without a judicial warrant, with only an administrative warrant. Some of my most conservative colleagues agree that you ought to have a judicial warrant. That's a basic one.
Can you go back to explain to me why the Biden administration let in 20 million illegal immigrants and had a completely open southern border that put us in this position in the first place? Why?
I disagree that they let in 20 million.
Okay,
I think they're double counting quite a few people. Let's say it was
10 million.
Our biggest policy failure was a open border. which means respecting treaties that we signed decades ago about letting people claim asylum in this country. Near the end of the administration, James Lankford, Kyrsten Sinema negotiated a deal that is the policy we should now be following. I was in a bipartisan meeting this week to talk about how do we strike the right balance where we actually secure the border, where enforcement against criminal aliens happens in a safe and secure way that respects a democracy, doing law enforcement in a democracy, and where we as a country are humane. We're not shocked by what we see on TV.
Have you figured out why? Because there are conspiracy theories why you'd let in 10 million undocumented Democrats.
They're not Democrats.
I'm kidding. I mean, I'm saying that that's the whole that. And you don't want no ID voting. At the same time, you let in all these illegal.
I have to show an ID every time I vote in Delaware. Look.
But you see what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying. Democrats will never lose again if they're left to their own devices.
True, as you well know.
Look,
God help us.
At the end of the day, Trump ran on three things: lower your costs, close the border, release the Epstein files. He's closed the border. Costs are not coming down in a significant way, and we need to do more to deliver on that. And the Epstein files have been an abject disaster.
Okay, again, here's another. So, inflation means how much things rise. It's not prices going down, that's deflation.
It's also wages coming up.
Well, okay, and that's happening. But you're not looking for deflation right now. If it goes up 21.5% during the Biden years, and it goes up another 3%, which is too high under Trump, the 21.5 is still, you own that.
What matters is affordability, right? So housing affordability has been impacted by the tariffs Trump has put on wallboard from Mexico and plywood from Canada. Groceries have been impacted by tariffs.
Okay, 21.5 to 3.
I was in Europe meeting with a lot of our core NATO allies after his Greenland gambit. And his tariffs and his chaotic tariff policy is dividing us from our closest allies at exactly the moment when China is the biggest challenge we face. He's focusing on Venezuela, on Cuba, on Iran, on Greenland, and he's not focusing on the thing that matters, which is getting closer to our allies who share our values, who are free market democracies, so that we've got the market power to actually get concessions and to constrain China's aggression.
The view from here, and probably from a lot of places in the United States, is that nothing can get done on a bipartisan basis in Congress. True. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I did not realize you said the president signed 5 of your bills into law in December. These were all bipartisan pieces of legislation?
Yes. These were mostly national security related pieces of legislation that relate to Taiwan, that relate to our core adversaries, China, Russia, DPRK, and Iran coming closer, demanding a strategy out of the administration. One bill was with Pete Ricketts, one bill was with David McCormick, one was with Jim Risch about detained Americans and how we should respond when an American is detained. We are doing bipartisan work. In the Foreign Relations Committee, we voted out 12 bills just this week. It doesn't get a lot of coverage, but on economic policy and foreign policy, I've gotten bills signed into law this last year. There are folks working together. And frankly, on some level, when I say that at home, people say, boy, why doesn't anyone talk about that?
What I'm asking is that something that makes you think you can maybe get to a bipartisan issue without shutting down DHS funding?
We should. I think what we're asking for, which is that federal law enforcement follow the same rules as state and local law enforcement. I know what you're asking for, but do you get the sense that there is going to be an off-ramp between the two parties at this point? I hope, because we need to deliver results. And to your point about FEMA and TSA and the Coast Guard, I don't want to shut down FEMA, TSA, and the Coast Guard.
It makes it look like the Democrats don't care about Homeland Security.
I care about Homeland Security and our country, but I also care about responding to these grotesque acts of overreach.
And do you feel like there is room at the table, movement at the table to do some of these things?
We'll find out this weekend because the leaders have begun talking. Both caucuses, House and Senate, Democrats have laid out what I think are perfectly reasonable demands that your average American goes, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But once again, you're using funding to get what policies that interest you, and it just is a bad precedent.
These aren't just policies that interest me. Joe, the idea that federal law enforcement
I know, but you're shutting down the government.
Rules.
You're shutting down the government.
I mean, it's the same rules that NYPD is following right there in Times Square right now.
When Republicans
do you see roving bands of NYPD
Senator,
with masks and
you're putting up
using
another
bear
red
spray
herring.
on people?
You're shutting down the government because
It's how you do policing
you lost
in a
the
democracy.
election. You lost the election because you lost the election, which put
Because
you in the
I'm-
minority party doesn't give you the right to shut down the government to get what you want. Let me ask you
But
this.
it does mean I have to fight for the core
Okay.
values of our democracy, which includes supporting law enforcement that is accountable, that is transparent, but that doesn't murder American citizens in broad
When
daylight.
Republicans are in the minority, they have issues that they think that you disagree with. You don't want them shutting down the government to force it. If the Democrats take back the House, and it's unlikely, maybe, I don't know what the betting markets are now on the Senate. I haven't looked, but who knows? But
There's a path. It's possible, but we'll see what happens in the next 6
Will
months.
the Democrats nuke the filibuster, put 15 people on the Supreme Court, make Puerto Rico and Washington, make them states? Will all those things happen? No vote ID for, suddenly Democrats are federalists. I love it. They want the states to decide on no voting, and it's great to see them become federalists. But would all those things happen? Would you think Democrats would do that?
Something positive just happened, and I've talked about this in my caucus a lot. A lot of my family and friends say, when are Republicans going to stand up in the Senate to Trump? Trump demanded they end the filibuster. They didn't. Trump demanded that they end the blue slip for judges. They didn't. Trump demanded huge cuts in medical research, NIH, CDC, huge cuts in housing, home, CDBG. They didn't. We just passed a bipartisan appropriations bill that rejected huge cuts to basic programs.
And yet there are Democrats in the House who are saying
same.
Chuck Schumer should get the hell out, in their words. Are they?
Look, at the end of the day, finding a middle path through which we can govern is one of our biggest challenges. And a lot of the redistricting happening in Texas and in other states means that you're squeezing out the last members of the House who are moderates. So we're going to have trouble finding a governing coalition in the center. I hope business will start speaking up and saying, we want rule of law, we want stability.
You would not vote to nuke the filibuster then?
I would not vote to nuke the filibuster to recognize Puerto Rico and you said Washington.
Would you do it
not put 15
to stack
people
the
on the
Supreme
DC.
You wouldn't put them on the Supreme Court. You don't want to stack
I don't think we should expand the Supreme Court.
Okay. Senator Coons.
But that leaves open that you could nuke the filibuster for other reasons.
It depends what else is going on, because we got 3 more years, and bluntly, what this president is doing has so reshaped our society and our place in the world. I am very,
filibuster will
very
be gone
worried.
next time you're not in power, though. Who knows when it is? Maybe it never happens.
Right
again.
now, it is
with your 20
absolutely
million
critical protection.
With the 20 million that came in, maybe it never happened. Maybe you never lose power.
Even Becky's going like this.
All right, Senator Coons,
Because they're
thank you
rapping.
very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to be on.
Okay, who are you taking, Andrew?
Should I just take the Patriots just to?
No, I'm taking the Patriots.
Oh, you're taking.
I've been taking the Patriots all along.
So you have to take the other side.
You weren't here, but the reason I am, and I mentioned.
Taking the Knicks. That's what I'm doing.
I mentioned Villanova versus Georgetown. Villanova didn't have that. And then I mentioned Houston. I couldn't remember. It was against NC State and Jimmy Valvano and Don't Give Up, Never Give Up. And then I thought of Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, which was the craziest thing that. So, and you know what?
I'm with you 100%, except for that I like Sam Darnold.
I do too.
Really
We went
like
to
see-
SC.
I want to know.
But I like Bob Kraft and Jonathan. They're my friends, and I want.
Are you taking DraftKings, FanDuel, or
I do it on
Kalshi or
Draft.
Polymarket? Which way are you going to bet the game?
Kalshi's are. Oh no, I don't
We
know.
just do a Super Bowl box.
I do a DraftKings, and
It's just
I
at
will.
home where we do our own.
I may go big on this. I may.
What's big? $10?
25.
20?
25.
Whoa.
25.
Okay.
But you know why? You don't get an odds boost on over a certain amount. So that's why it's like I try and do it, and it says no, that's too much money. It kind of keeps you from some of your worst impulses. You are excited, as you always are, about the commercials.
I am, and I love.
There've been some funny.
I love the Anthropic commercial.
That's what we were talking about earlier. I think you had gone down to see.
It's a great.
Tell me, I haven't seen it yet. So how does it?
They're pretending that they are an AI.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious.
All AI companies.
And it's focused straight up at OpenAI.
At this point, with what I've seen, all AI.
And Sam
they're
came
all
out
pretending to be AI because none of them are.
Sam Altman actually responded to it. He said he thought it was funny, but then sort of did an explanation of why he thought it was misrepresenting the situation. But it's a hard hard ad for OpenAI.
I was kidding about the Coke-Pepsi rivalry, and apparently that's renewed. I mentioned
Oh,
to
that
the
never
guy
went away.
we had
That
on.
never went away.
No Coke, no Pepsi.
That's Squawk Pod for today. Thanks for listening. And it's Friday. Yay, we made it to the end of another week. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin, weekday mornings on CNBC starting at 6 Eastern. You can get the best of that 3-hour TV show right into your ears when you follow Squawk Pod wherever you're listening now. And please let us know what you think of our work here. Rate Squawk Pod or write a brief review on Apple Podcasts. You can also send us a line on X at Squawk CNBC. We'll meet you right back here on Monday. Have a great weekend.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.